Hello, Internet, and welcome to DigiWho, which is how that's pronounced, I promise. Don't get your hopes up, the podcast with me and Mike B.
Yeah.
And we talk about things and stuff, usually relating to the gaming industry. In fact, this week almost certainly heavily relating to the gaming industry because GDC happened.
Yeah.
And a lot of gaming things happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were at GDC. How was it?
Yeah. I was there for the entire week, and it was great. Lots, just like a lot of shit, man. Like a lot of shit, and it's funny again coming back and decompressing and reading through everything. It's like, wow, I didn't know that happened, and I was there. The usual convention stuff. I mean. Our first subject, obviously, was the one thing that I was like,
yeah,
what? I didn't know that happened until probably I was about ready to go home, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, what? That actually happened? Microsoft's schoolgirl party, that happened, which I thought was pretty fucking funny.
It's one of those it's ridiculously sexist, and it's like when people say girls are put off of being in the gaming industry, things like this are why.
Yeah.
But it's also like it's one of those so hilariously tone deaf bad that you're like, I can't, shame on you, Microsoft. That's not gonna work here. Whoever did this is just flat not paying attention
to anything. Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So. Nothing against the girls, right? I mean,
no.
If you can make money doing something like that, then fucking do it. I wish I could. But man, whoever decided to make that call, and then whoever continued to allow it to happen, that when you're throwing a party and something's going down, that's bad. Someone's gonna tell you. Someone probably was like, hey, why are these girls here or whatever? And it just didn't go. It didn't. I don't know. Maybe it just didn't click. If I was at that party, if I was the showrunner, right, and I was there, and somebody came out and was like, hey, man, you got these girls, and they're basically, scantily clad, and they're dancing in the games industry related party. You should do something about that. It would click. I would be like, oh shit, games industry party, scantily clad girls. Okay, those two things don't go together. We should do something right fucking now.
Wasn't there a gate about this or something?
It was just it's classless, really, is what it is.
Yeah.
There's a time and place for scantily clad women. There really is. At a games industry party, there fucking isn't. And that's especially put on by Microsoft. If it was I don't know, Leisure Suit Larry or something. I don't even know if that would even fly, but still, it's if it was something that had way more of a focus on sex, then maybe, I don't know, porn VR or something. I have no idea. I can't.
Yeah, to me, the sort of checklist is, would it be okay if there were scantily clad dudes here? No? Well, then probably don't put scantily clad chicks there instead. If it's this sort of environment where a scantily clad dude, getting up and grinding around or whatever, is, this is thematic for this party, this makes sense for whatever it is that we're doing, then sure, yeah. But when it's hey, we're Microsoft, like you said, it's coming out of Microsoft, coming out of somebody like Wargaming, I wouldn't be horribly surprised, but coming out of Microsoft, it's just kind of yeah, exactly. From Microsoft, this is wait, what? What? Yeah. Did Bill Gates know about this? What is happening right now? And it's also just like you say, there's a time and place for it. Are you at a strip club? If yes, that's an appropriate place for scantily clad women dancing on tables. Are you at a games industry party, which is an industry that's come under fire so much in the past 2 or 3 years? Then probably not. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Phil Spencer jumped on that right away though, probably within an hour of it breaking, and was yeah, this is shameful, and we're gonna do something about it. Right? Just to summarize, like he was all over it, which is great because I was actually expecting. By the time I heard about this, he had already responded, and I was like, "Wow, this is something I would expect for them to take, a day or something." Yeah, Monday, yeah, we'll see something Monday, but he jumped all over it. So at least somebody recognizes. If it wasn't Phil Spencer that recognized it, at least somebody along the line that passed it up was like, "Hey, this is fucking critical. We need to say something right now, and we need to look into this and do whatever." It's funny. Like I went to a ton of parties at GDC, and there are parties where, like the NVIDIA party, they had girls like all over the place, but the theme was, it was like what? Like circus, right? So you had like mimes, and you had just like people walking around on like stilts or whatever, and yeah, it was just like a circus, a freak show almost. But you also had dudes, and it was funny. Like there was a girl who got up on this little corner stage. Man, I have like no words today, and she was. What is it called where you're like ultra flexible? I can't remember the word. What's wrong with me?
Contortionist?
Thank you. God, man. Yeah, so she's a contortionist, and she got up there, she started doing her thing, whatever, and I was like, wow, that's really interesting. And then she got down, and the dude got up, and the crowd just dispersed, like, immediately. Like, crowd was gone. And, she wasn't, like, she was wearing, like, a full bodysuit, and she was doing her thing, and the dude came up wearing literally the same thing. It was like they were twins, right? Came up, did her thing, and then did his thing, and like, the crowd was just gone. And I was like,
poor
damn.
Guy. That sucks to be the dude in that case.
I know.
I mean, you figure he's probably kind of used to it being in that industry, just because of how people react to that sort of thing. But still, yeah, it's interesting. I do have to say that I'm kind of pleased to see the reaction to Microsoft's thing being almost universally negative. Like, sure, there's always going to be like, I want to see tits, and this looks like something that I want. Why do you hate what I want, which is tits? Sort of person around there. But for the most part, like in the media, on social media, etc., like it kind of feels like the rest of the gaming industry looked at this and went, come on, guys, really? We're better than this now. And that kind of makes me happy a little bit. Just like, yay, we're improving.
Yeah, it's so I think the first thing I thought when I heard this, 'cause I heard it secondhand, was, oh well, they hosted the party, I think at Ruby Sky or something, but anywhere they would have hosted the party, it's like I'd imagine probably these are the go-to girls that usually perform at events at this place, and that's probably what happened. That seemed like the most logical thing. I don't feel like somebody would go out of their way. I didn't think at the time that someone would go out of their way and say, hey, yeah, we need some chicks up there, doing their thing. But then in the Verge article, it actually says a choice made not by the venue but by Microsoft, and I was like,
yeah,
ooh,
yeah,
yikes,
yeah. When the venue steps and goes, whoa, this wasn't us, guys.
Yeah. And I also wonder too, like, what if like the person who set it up like wasn't even clear? It was like, yeah, let's do this and that. We'll get some. You'll get some dancers and stuff like that. Like, what if?
What if like someone at Microsoft just said, yeah, someone at the venue was like, do you want dancers? And the guy was like, yeah, dancers sounds cool, and didn't realize that like what he was getting.
Yeah,
like, I've been totally to the ballet.
Yeah, totally possible. like the NVIDIA party is a reflection of that, where you have a mix of genders there. It's like they're probably just like, yeah, bring a. Usually it's a dance troupe that kind of all like works together, and they go to these events to do this stuff. And they're like, yeah, sure, that sounds good. And whoops.
Yeah.
But all the other parties were pretty much like, they're pretty standard. It's funny, like this is the first time I think I noticed that this was an issue. Because I know for a fact in the past, 7 years or something that I've been going to these things, there's plenty of parties where it is just nothing but chicks, like flat out,
Yeah.
One I can remember in particular was a party that happened at GDC actually in 2010 or 11. And it was one of the coolest nights for me, not because of the girls obviously, but just because of the networking opportunities that I had there, and like obviously like the abundance of free alcohol, and the atmosphere. Like it was the perfect mix of like party and social, because the biggest problem you have when you go to these parties is like sometimes you can't hear shit, and so there's no networking that goes on there. It's no talking. And then of course the flip side, which I prefer, is the ones we can actually go and talk to people. So it was a perfect mix of those two things. But I do recall, like, very, very vividly at the very end, very hazily vividly, I should say, the massive row of girls wearing basically the same thing you see in these pictures of the Microsoft party. They had like these sparklers that came out, and they open up champagne bottles, and they were like kind of dancing around and stuff like that. And I was like, "This is the greatest night ever!" And like, it's funny, like I didn't recognize that as being an issue, and obviously nobody did then too, right? In 2011, but I'm sure these parties actually happened as early as just last year, or actually maybe last year's probably. I think we were still a little sensitive to it last year.
Well, last year was like the whole, like, nobody wanted to go anywhere near stuff like that because of the whole Gamergate thing. Mm-hmm. Like really being in its like roaring moments at the time. So yeah, last year I think it wasn't so bad, but yeah, definitely. The past couple of years, it's still been a thing.
Yeah. So yeah, parties overall were good though.
That's good.
I have a huge stack. I can't really flood them because they're all different size business cards here, but they're all getting stuck on each other. But yeah, it was actually really great. And actually, somebody actually met at a party the very last night, sent me a nice email. I'm gonna read it to you because it's really nice. She says, it's from Tara, and she says, "Mr. Bailey, it was a pleasure to meet you at the Riot Party at GDC this year. I really appreciate the time you took to talk to me about my portfolio. The advice you gave me was the most helpful that I received at GDC. I will definitely take it to heart moving forward. Thanks again, Tara, game artist, entertainment arts, and engineering." I was like, "Oh, she called me Mr. Bailey."
Yeah, that's weird.
I mean, at these parties, they're like, 21 in high school. They're 21 years old. It's just like, well, yeah. I guess, you know what? I guess you can call me Mr. Bailey.
You're like in that weird substitute teacher age phase now. Like, oh man, I love it when Mr. Bailey comes by because all he does is put on a videotape, and I can sit and listen to my Walkman the entire time.
Yep. So yeah. It was good. It was really good overall, the entire event.
So speaking of Microsoft desperately crying out for attention, they're actually going to start allowing cross-play with PC and PS4 on the Xbox.
They've left the doors open.
They've quote unquote left the doors open, but everyone that I've heard talking about this, and the couple of people that I know through work that have experience with console development, Microsoft has been the sticking point. Like, they don't want anybody monkeying around with their Xbox lives. And apparently now Microsoft's like, okay, fine. This whole exclusivity thing really isn't going well for us right now. Yeah. Please let people play our games. Because that's like, that's a huge issue for games like The Division or Destiny, where you need lots of people to be able to play with and reliably be able to play with. And so, like, I know so many people who, when Destiny came out, they bought it for their Xbox because they didn't have a PS4, and now they're like, there's nobody to play with because all the Destiny players are on PS4.
Yes.
And recently with The Division, I had a bunch of people, and this is just purely anecdotal, but I had a bunch of people that I know through work who were like, yeah, we're all going to play The Division. What's everybody playing it on? And a couple of us were like, yeah, we're playing it on PC. And they're like, oh, okay, that's fine. And then like everybody else was saying they were going to play it on PS4. And there was like two people who only had an Xbox. And they were like, Yeah, I guess I'm gonna play it on Xbox, but now I actually don't think I'm gonna buy it at all.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
I can't play with everybody else, and so there's no reason to do it. So yeah, like this Microsoft opening this up, a lot of people probably don't realize the biggest sticking point in the past. Like PS4 and PC has always been like you can Rocket League does it just fine. Like you can cross play between PS4 and PC.
PS2 and Final Fantasy 11 would
Yeah.
cross-play to PC.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're not like new to it, you know?
Yeah, like that's Sony's always been pretty open with their network, and a lot of it has to do with their network. Like they don't have I guess more recently it's they have their PS Plus, but up until recently it was always like, yeah, it connects to the internet, do what you want with it, sort of thing.
Yep.
And Xbox has always been like, no, you need Xbox Live because that's the only way to make one console talk to another console at all, is if you pay extra for another thing. And like I say, PS4 adopted that with this generation with their PS Plus requirements for a lot of stuff. But it's always been Xbox that's been really, really super insular. And it's worked for them for a long time because their consoles were the more popular one. I don't know that was entirely true during the PS2. In fact, I'm positive that the PS2 was more popular than the original Xbox. But the 360 was far and away the most popular console of that generation because the PS3 kind of tanked.
Except for
now,
Blu-ray.
Well, there's that, yeah. But that's the thing. So many people were like, yeah, I have a PS3 because I wanted a cheap Blu-ray player.
I wanted a really good Blu-ray player, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, but nowadays, like PS4, like Sony has very clearly learned from their lessons with the PS3, and they're coming out swinging like crazy, and PS4 is the dominant console, and now XBONE people are like, please, I just want to be able to play with people.
Well, it's like you have all of these co-op games springing up, and you didn't really have this with the 360 and all that, because the power wasn't there to support it. You know, the raw power in order to create games that were large, open world, have multiple people and all that stuff, in a capacity that would be able to support action. Obviously, a game like Final Fantasy 11, sure, you know,
Yeah.
but all that real time stuff requires more. So like Halo and everything, the most online stuff we get from that is like matchmaking, right? That kind of multiplayer stuff. But now it's like, you know, we have Destiny, we have Warframe. We have obviously The Division. We have so many games that are just like yeah, co-op, play with your friends, and it's like, all right, well, what are my friends playing on? Because that's gonna determine, like you said, but that's gonna determine what I buy it on. Even when you were talking about getting The Division on the PS4, I was like, oh man, do I want to play a shizzle or do I want to play with lore? And then it's like, well, wait a minute, if I buy The Division, I will then have 2 games that I play with PS4. That doesn't really sound like the PS4 is doing too much for me right now.
Yeah.
Having owned it now for like a year and a half or something.
Yeah, that's certainly true. The PS4, like my personal PS4 gameplay has fallen off quite a bit. I did really like The Division on PS4, and in a lot of ways I prefer it over the PC, but that's mostly just because the interface on the PC is fucking confusing, and the interface on the PS, like, because it was designed for a console. And so you have weird shit like, yeah, you have to press F sometimes, and you have to press space sometimes. It's like, oh yeah, this doesn't make sense to me. I just want to click on things. And the clicking kind of works, except for when it doesn't. It's weird. But on the PS4, like, the interface made total sense. I was like, okay, that's cool. The aiming is definitely much better on PC.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, like, just talking about this cross-play thing, a lot of people have kind of hung on to the PC side of it and been like, does this mean that I can play The Division on PC with my PS4 and Xbox One friends? And I don't think that's the case, because it's going to depend on the game a lot. Like, something like Rocket League makes sense because on PC you kind of wish you had a controller most of the time. Like, right. If you don't. Something like The Division or Destiny, which obviously isn't on PC, but any sort of shooter thing where all of a sudden having a mouse and keyboard is a huge advantage. In those cases, I think we will probably see, at most, Xbox and PS4 crossplay.
I don't know, man. We're going to get back into that discussion about people being good at what and all that stuff.
Yeah, I just don't think that a controller can compete with maybe in something like The Division where you're kind of bullet spongy a little bit
Yeah.
and it's more tactical. Something like Destiny where it's you come around the corner and you die. No.
And no, and you're right. Like my argument at the time was that me using a KBM converter for the PS4 still had its limitations. I could only turn as fast as the controller will allow me to. Therefore, keeping me on the same, that because that's the biggest thing. Like I could spin around and shoot somebody before they could even turn around and see me. For good players, of course. But yeah, if I'm on a PC where I have just like as fast as I move my mouse, as fast as I turn around, guess what? Like that obviously gives me a pretty serious advantage.
Yeah, there's a big difference between native keyboard and mouse and hacked together through a Cronus. Like, because I got a Cronus Max also, and I set it up, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna use this for Destiny, and it's gonna be amazing. And I pretty quickly just gave up on it entirely because it was just too janky for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm very, very particular about my keyboard and mouse. So when there's things like you kind of have to fight the aim assist a little bit when you're trying to aim up super close, I'm like, nope. I'm just gonna play it with a controller. And I've been doing pretty fine with that. But yeah. So, speaking of Destiny,
right?
By which I mean speaking of fate. By which I mean speaking of that which is inevitable. PlayStation VR is launching this year.
Yes.
And the big money, or should I say small money, item coming out of that particular announcement is that's only $400.
That's pretty.
I say only. It does also, for some reason, it requires the webcam. Yeah, and it also requires, I think, not for everything, but for some games, it requires the Move controller or 2 Move controllers. So all in all, it's about. I think they said that there's going to be a $500 bundle, which you can buy a PS4, the PSVR. Am I getting this right? It was the PS4, the PSVR, 2 of the Move controllers, and the webcam, I think.
For $500?
For $500, yeah. That's the bundle, which is available for pre-order. Yeah, $500 bundle, only available for pre-order on Tuesday.
Fuck.
And
I didn't know what the bundle, but damn.
Yeah, no, it's apparently only the. There's no console. That's. What
Oh,
I'm missing
okay. Oh my god, I was like, oh, what?
Yeah, I was like,
I need to sell my PS4 now and then turn around and buy another one. Like,
I was like trying to make sense out of this. I'm like, I know I'm messing something up with this.
Yeah.
It's
still
the VR, dunk. The camera, and the controllers. Yeah, definitely.
In terms of on paper what you're getting.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, like I was saying earlier, like PlayStation with the PS3, when the PS3 launched, it was after the 360 was already out, which is bad step one.
Right.
It was more expensive than the 360, which is bad step two. Mm-hmm. And it was not significantly, like it was very slightly better in the hardware, if I remember correctly, but not enough that it was really worth it. So the PS3 really struggled for a long time to try and catch up, which now you look at what's happening. You look at what happened with the PS4. They did the opposite thing. It launched before the XBONE. Am I remembering that correctly? Yeah, it launched before the Xbox One. I may be making that up.
I can't remember.
But it was cheaper and it's better hardware. So that's a big part of why the PS4 has been doing so well. Now we look at their VR outing, and not only is it cheaper than everything else, I think it's coming out sooner than the Oculus.
Wait, which one? The PlayStation VR?
Yeah.
Oculus starts shipping, I think, in April. now?
Oh no, Oculus starts shipping end of the month. So
End of the month, yeah,
never mind.
exactly.
Yeah, so that I'm completely making up. But the more important thing is that they're
You're doing
they're
a very
making sure.
convincing job of doing that, by the way.
Yeah. I just say everything that I want.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's cheaper. It gives you a handy J. No, it doesn't. But the bigger thing that I found was really, really interesting was that they're actually like being very, very serious and gung-ho about 60 frames per second in their VR, which is super important because once you start dropping, like 30 frames per second on a monitor is mostly okay if you're like not particularly sensitive to frame rates. And especially if you're like watching something, if you're watching a stream, it's fine if the stream is at 30 frames per second. It's viewable.
Yeah.
If you're playing a game, it feels a little bit slow and chunky. 60 frames per second is just so much smoother. And I personally am super sensitive to frame rates, so I can tell the difference between
With your
30
special
and
eyes.
60.
No, I know. I get
my
it.
special eyes, yeah. My X-ray vision. I look through the monitor to check the frame rate. But yeah, like basically, what's his name? Chris Norden had a presentation at GDC, and he said there's no excuse for not hitting frame rate. You cannot drop below 60 FPS, period, ever. If you submit a game to us and you drop down to 30 or 35 or 51, we're probably going to reject it.
Yep.
And that means like not getting that means it's going to reject the certification process. And if they don't certify a game, that basically means it's dead.
It's
it
dead,
does
totally
not
dead.
launch.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, that's actually really, really exciting to me because the biggest concern with the PS4 VR being cheaper is this going to be a shitty experience compared to the Oculus? And while it being locked to 60 frames per second doesn't necessarily guarantee that that's not going to be the case, because like the other big thing is going to be head tracking, like how smoothly does it actually keep up with where you look around. I think it's actually sounding like Sony might be hitting a winner here in the overall VR battle.
Right now, yeah, they are. Especially to the masses who already have a PS4. Everyone already has a PS4. It's like, okay, so that's all I need, and that's all I need to play every Sony VR game ever is going to be that.
Yeah.
Right. It's like once you that's actually it's funny and that's the beauty of consoles. I never thought I'd say this, but that's the beauty of consoles is that games actually only get better in terms of the way that they play with the hardware, because as development progresses through the console's lifespan, people they get better at optimizing things for that console. So look at any like end of console lifetime game. Like look at Halo from the beginning and end on Xbox 360 or the Xbox.
yeah.
Like it's like it's just black and white. Like they get better. And so that's a huge win for PlayStation VR. The price point, obviously, a huge win for PlayStation VR. And you know what? The refresh rate. Being obviously 60 frames per second is what they want, but the headset actually supports 120 hertz.
Yeah.
So it actually supports a higher refresh rate than the Vive and the Oculus.
Yep.
So it's there. I have to imagine that they have to be selling this thing at a loss.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're just going to make up for it in games. And you know what? They're Sony. They could do that, Yeah. They're going to take that loss and they're going to run with it. But it looks like a really good all-around buy if you already have a Sony PS4.
Yeah, and like I would not I would not be surprised at all if they're willing to sell this at a loss, just because they're in a position that they can actually do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure they've been selling PS4s at a loss. At least at first, they were probably selling them at a loss for quite a while.
Probably.
And the reason you do that is to get the installed user base, so that then people develop stuff for your console and for your device. And then after you have the installed user base, that's when you really start making money, because then everybody wants to develop stuff for you, and people have to pay licensing fees. You get a percentage of profits, etc., off of these sorts of things. So, I think it's a really good call by them to do that. I am still a little bit worried that there's going to be some sort of something with the PlayStation VR that makes it janky in some way.
Well, the resolution is slightly lower than the Oculus and the Vive. So it's not much. It's like 1080 versus 1200 on the vertical. But it might be enough for you to notice a bit more screen dooring. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Obviously the quality of the graphics themselves are not going to be as good, because you're not going to win putting a console up against a PC, because the PC will continue to get more and more powerful and sending a more powerful rendered signal through there to your headset. So you're going to have ultra mega quality on all of your games, and it's going to run at 120 frames per second, no problem. So obviously supporting VR is going to be easy. Whereas the PlayStation VR, they're going to be somewhat limited in ultimately in how the quality of the actual rendered signal they're going to get.
Yeah,
but it's still going to be good over time. It's going to get better, of course.
Yeah, and I think the fact that the console is, like you're saying, it's something that people can optimize for over time. At this stage of technology, I kind of feel like that may work out to be a little bit of an advantage for PS4 VR. It could not, but the biggest thing that makes me want to say that is just gone from my brain now. I don't remember what I was saying.
What were you saying?
I've completely lost my train of thought.
They have a game. I was going to carry it on. I saw them demoing a couple of games at the PSVR booth at GDC. They had I can't remember the name of the game, but it was Mechanized Combat League, which I thought was really funny, given that we have Mechanized Brawler League. Yeah. And it was basically an arena shooter mech style game, and that looked really good. And they had they had like a party game there that actually looked really fun. It was, you basically have a whole bunch of people with the Move or the controllers, and they would sit there and throw things at like this tentacle thing, this like you can say like Loch Ness Monster, right? And the person that was wearing the VR headset was the Loch Ness Monster, and you basically dodge shit that people throw at you. Which I was like, that's brilliant, because what they're demonstrating there that you don't necessarily really see is like it's just like the 5-player aspect of this, the person that's dodging stuff. I'm pretty sure he probably sees the same thing that we see on the screen. But I mean, I don't know. What if he I didn't put it on, so I don't know. But I'm fairly certain he sees exactly what the people, like the overhead view. When all your characters are on the little dock and you're throwing shit at this Loch Ness Monster thing. And he's just sitting there just dodging. It was funny watching this guy just like, just like dodge left and right, and then like do like a smash attack or whatever. There's a lot of potential there. Ton of potential.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how, like, because that's sort of outside the bounds of what you would consider to be normal VR, like, experience, especially for something like the Oculus or the Vive, where the expectation is kind of that you're sitting at a desk next to your computer, and it's very hard for other people to get in and participate with you in those sorts of situations. Whereas for something like that you're describing, like there's a TV, you're sitting on the couch, like everybody's just hanging out, that actually creates kind of a party game atmosphere. Like, hey, everybody come over and play with my VR is not something that you will hear anybody say about the Oculus or the Vive at this point. I mean, obviously as like a, hey, check out my thing, it's really cool, but like the whole time everybody else is going to be standing around going, look how funny he looks, he's wearing a funny mask.
Right, yeah, no, it's true, though. It's absolutely true, especially given some of the shit that I saw at GDC. Like, I'm not going to laugh at these guys, but I will, because the shit is just bizarro land, man. There was and as I recorded a vlog, and I actually had the B-roll footage that I took while I was there. But they had this setup where this guy was basically flying through a city, and he was actually laying down on a contraption that allowed him to flap his wings, and he's wearing the headset.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was another one that actually didn't get any B-roll of, unfortunately, but it was basically you're sitting in what's essentially a like sex swing, and you have your headset on. And then you have a fan that's blowing, a couple like little turbine fans blowing on you, and you're basically like parasailing or whatever it says, skydiving. I can't remember which one it is, but you're just like basically parachuting like through a city, and that's pretty much it. It was just like, all right, it's like that's. I mean, if you have a sex swing, then this would be a good like. Someone
now
comes
you
in.
don't have to fantasize about who you're having sex with.
He's like, hey, is that a sex swing? Nah, man, this is parasailing. This is this game I'm playing right now.
You just put the headset next to it and be like, totally, no, it's for parachuting, I promise.
Yeah. The one thing I didn't see was porn VR there, and I was really disappointed. But I'm pretty sure probably
it was at the Microsoft party.
That's some end of podcast shit right there. I'm pretty sure at probably CES, not CVS, but usually around CES they have AEN, which is the Adult Entertainment Expo, AEE, whatever it's called. That's when they usually show it. And it's funny. I'm not just saying that I want to check it out because I want to fat to it or whatever. I'm just saying I'm also saying it because because porn is gonna be what helps drive this. If porn can come up with a way to make VR desirable to the average user, and have them actually go and like buy units, that's gonna be a huge thing for us in gaming, like a massive thing for us in gaming.
Yeah. So speaking of massive things for us in gaming, by which I mean, speaking of exactly what we were just talking about, how do you feel about this rumor of an updated PS4 in order to take advantage of the, so basically, how things are shaking right now is there's the PS4, and Sony's saying you can do 60 frames per second all the time with your VR with this existing hardware. And there's no excuse not to. Great. On top of that, there's this rumor, which admittedly I saw it on Kotaku, so just going to go ahead and say maybe I would ever suggest that Kotaku makes up 90% of their shit, but Kotaku makes up 90% of their shit. But so the theory here is that Sony's working on a new revival of the PS4, which is they've done in the past for their other consoles as well. Like, this is the updated hardware, but this time around they're actually doing some pretty significant updates to it in terms of allowing it to support 4K resolution for 4K screens, not for the VR obviously, but they would also have some additional / stronger hardware in it to potentially support even better stuff in the VR itself. I don't know overall how I feel about this rumor. I think if I'd read it anywhere else, I would be more likely to believe it.
Yeah, it's funny. You're right. You're totally right. It's Kotaku, the potentially soon to be defunct, or Hulk Hogan Taku or something. Kotaku Mania. I don't know what we do, but
Sony's working on a new PS4, brother.
I don't know what they releasing a 4.5 would suck, but I'm pretty sure the 360 and the 360 did the same thing like twice.
I do need an excuse to buy more PS4s.
And it was the PS1 actually did it because I remember I don't know if it was an actual hardware increase, but there was definitely a shift in the hardware itself with the PS1 because I used to buy in bulk these. I think we're outside of these statute limitations here, but I used to buy in bulk these these little chips that you'd put on the back, you plug into the back of your PlayStation 1, and it would allow you to play burned CDs. I used to sell them fucking in the barracks for like just like nothing, basically, for like, like the good shit out of the MRE, like, yeah, let me get your Skittles, dog. I'll give you this fucking PlayStation 1 thing.
This
but
would
yeah,
be an excellent time for a car, like an ambulance to drive by my window. By the way.
Woo, woo.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit. They're watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's. I wouldn't be surprised if they put out a release that, I mean, we're more savvy now, so we know. But back in 2000, like that was not something that we would have necessarily been aware of. If they were like, yeah, they upped the graphics capability a bit more, so you have a better frame rate, more solid frame rate with some games. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they put something out that was like, yeah, a little bit better. It was a little bit stronger, just a wee bit. And in reality, it was like, yeah, it was pretty significant fucking increase.
So speaking of improvements, by which I mean speaking of taking a classic and reinventing it.
Oh, man.
By which I mean speaking of... let's see. Speaking of... I'm kind of stumped on this one. I got to where I was headed too soon. And
Whoa! This may be a first.
Yeah, I don't want to wrap it up just yet. I want to keep going with it. Okay, so speaking of taking a classic and reinventing it, by which I mean speaking of working on old cars, by which I mean speaking of when you take an old car that looks like shit and make it look much better, and then you drive it around and everybody thinks you're a complete and total baller like Lorne Lanning. Oddworld has announced they're working on Soulstorm.
Hold on, there's so many things that I need to like Google here. Hold on a second. Jesus, man. All right, so Oddworld is definitely your bag here. This is It's funny. I remember seeing Oddworld when I was younger and like as a game, and I was kind of like, meh. It was like just visually, it was just kind of like not really game interested in. So tell me a little bit about Oddworld.
Okay. Hang on 1 second. I need to wow, I need to close this ad because I'm trying to look at this thing. All right. I'm going to need one of these for this. Okay. It's been sitting on my desk for a while and I've just been looking for a good opportunity to open it.
What is that, like a Diet Coke or something?
No, it's a beer. It's not a particularly nice beer.
What kind of beer?
It's a Height.
What is that?
It's a Korean beer. It's just a basic lager. It's basically Bud Light. Nothing too exciting.
Huh.
So Oddworld.
Yeah, sure.
It was one of the first like real puzzle platformers where like you're in this spot, you need to get to that spot, but you need to avoid all these things in the way, and it wasn't like a super Twitch based like double jump off the walls or whatever, like dodging shit platformer. It was more of a, this guy's gonna move over here, and when he moves over there, then I'm going to pull this lever, which is going to open this door, and then I'm going to sprint across over to that door, and he's going to chase me, but I'm going to jump up there before he can shoot me, because it takes about 4 steps before that actually happens. And then I'm going to pick up a grenade, and I'm going to throw it at the mine that's down next to where he ends up standing as a result of chasing me, and that's going to blow him up, and then I'm going to go over here and save these guys. It's very, very complex along those lines.
So it's Trine, but single player.
Maybe. I haven't actually played Trine. This suddenly makes me very interested in playing Trine.
The way you describe it, it totally sounds like Trine. I know Chad could probably back me up because those who've played both, but
yeah.
Wow. Anyways, go ahead.
But yeah, so this was a series that came out like ages ago. Like these were the first games that I really played the hell out of on my PlayStation way back in the days when I would be the sort of person who owned a PlayStation. Much like today, incidentally.
Right, yeah, actually.
But no, this was like, God, the 90s? Like maybe the early 2000s? It was a while ago. So recently they came out with Oddworld New and Tasty, which was basically a revamp of the original Oddworld Abe's Odyssey. And now they're working on a game called Oddworld Soulstorm, which at first glance sounds like a reimagining of Abe's Exodus.
Right.
which was the sequel. Excuse me. And in Abe's Exodus, they have this like Soulstorm brewery, which is basically Soylent Green. They're basically making a drink that is the bones of dead Mudokons, which is the race that Abe is from. And you go and you do puzzle platforming, and then you take them down. The interesting thing about Oddworld Soulstorm is Lorne Lanning, who I mentioned earlier, is this guy I mentioned earlier, along with many other things at the same time, is basically saying there's a deeper, darker, and more sinister story that we never got to tell. Soulstorm gives us the opportunity to flesh out more meat on the bones of an original spine, but retell the fable from a very different angle.
Ooh.
So to me, this is like New and Tasty was really, really fun, but it was basically just a remake. Like, it was, okay, this is the same game. They added a few more guys that you could rescue in it, and there's a little bit here and there. And like, they added an extra little DLC for it, which was cool. But for the most part, it's pretty much just the same game. And this one almost sounds a little bit like they're making a new Oddworld game, kind of, which excites and also terrifies me. It excites me because, like I said, Abe's Exodus and Abe's Odyssey were really, really good games that I spent a ton of time on. It terrifies me because everything they came out with after that was garbage.
So, wait, I just added New and Tasty to my wish list. Is that not something I should have done?
Oh, no. New and Tasty is really good. You should totally play it.
I'm watching the videos, and it's like, yeah, it totally, the visually and even the gameplay, it gives me a trine. It tickles the trine bone, right?
Yeah. It was free through PS Plus a few months ago.
Oh, of course it was. Well, I can't go back in fucking time.
Why don't you keep up with that shit, man?
You know what? Maybe I did, and I just don't remember.
There's probably there are definitely a lot of games that I add to my PS Plus. I'm like, yeah, I might play that at some point, and then I go back and look through later when I'm bored. I'm like, holy shit, how long have I had this? Why did I like I've been playing a lot of Massive Chalice recently.
Was that on PS Plus?
No, it was on
okay.
Xbox.
Okay,
So this is me finally getting some use out of my XBONE.
Okay.
But I've been playing a lot of Massive Chalice recently. And it was something I went back and I saw it in my Games with Gold list as something that I got months ago. And I was like, I actually heard that was pretty good. I should check it out. And then I've been completely and totally like hooked on it.
It's not bad. It's actually the only turn-based strategy, right? Yeah, turn-based, strategy game that I've been able to actually play for an extended period of time. And it could be, that I think maybe I do actually have it on my PS4. I can't remember, but I remember I was playing it downstairs a lot, and it was just like an ultimate. Like, the music was chill, the overall aesthetic of the game was chill. The concept was like, okay, it's cool. Like, it's just like the pacing, everything was really, really well done in terms of that. Like in terms of like being able to basically relax at midnight, and you're not tired, and you just want to have some drinks, you're kind of wasted, and you want to play some video games on the couch. It's actually really good for that.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I've been doing. Like, I'll be playing it, and like Liv will actually just watch while I play most of the time. She'll be hanging out on Twitter or whatever. And like, we'll just sit there. This is oftentimes like our sort of, let's hang out, but we don't really know what to do. So I'm going to play some Massive Chalice. And like, she made a leather bag or something recently, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it's basically it's like if you took XCOM and told it to chill the fuck out.
Right.
And you get Massive Chalice. Like, it's one of the things so now, instead of talking about Oddworld at all, I think we're done with Oddworld. They're coming out with Soulstorm. It sounds pretty cool. Woo-hoo. You should check it out. Let me gush about Massive Chalice for a minute. There's so much that they do that's just so humane in Massive Chalice compared to XCOM. Like, XCOM, one of your dudes dies, you are fucking pissed. You are livid that your dude just died. It is the worst possible thing that could have ever happened, that your dude just died. Excuse me. Especially if you lose one that's pretty high level.
Yeah.
In Massive Chalice, your dudes die all the fucking time.
Yes.
From old age, if nothing else. So if you lose a dude on a mission, you're kind of like, shit. Oh well. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And when one of them gets high level and then they die from old age, it still is like, okay, this is still fine because as a result, you get an awesome weapon out of it, a relic weapon that you can then pass on to their progeny or other people from their house. And it's like, okay, cool. This is pretty good. It's very pick up and put down. Like, you don't have to... You kind of need to think about positioning and stuff, but you don't need to be like, okay, is this guy going to be covered from these 4 different directions if I move over here and so on? And yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while since I played. So I'm looking right now. Last played 6/8/2015. But I have 6 hours into it, which is a good amount of time in this game, actually. Can't you take some of your people and retire them and put them into houses and have them take over or something?
Yeah, you can.
Or like assign them as like mates or some shit like.
Yeah, so you have all of these keeps, and in the keep you set one person as a regent, and then you assign them a partner, very medieval style arranged marriage sort of thing, and then they basically breed. And so a lot of the game is in looking at the different traits that your dudes have and saying, okay, this person is the caberjack, which is the like melee. They walk around carrying a log and they smack people with it.
Yeah,
it's exactly what it is.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you go, okay, so this guy has increased strength and increased move speed. I'm going to marry him to this girl who has increased XP gain and increased accuracy. All right, done. And then you get like these super mutant, awesome, like crazy good people out of that. Mm-hmm. And then you put them in your vanguard and you go out and fight. And eventually those two, the regent and their partner, will die off. And then you appoint a new regent and so on.
That's right. That's right.
And you can also you can build a crucible, which you put somebody in there that gives, based on his level, he gives XP to all the trainees, which are the kids that your regents and such have, and they can pass on traits as well. So like in the most recent playthrough I've been working on, I got someone in the Crucible who the only trait he could possibly give to anybody was the one that increases accuracy, and I've just been kicking ass since then. Because like, oh yeah, I can see it, so I have all these guys and I can just shoot that, just dead, done, no problem.
Oh man, it's funny, like,
it's
again,
a really good game.
Not being a turn-based guy at all. Like, I've played Invisible Ink, and which I thought was great, but it again, turn-based. And then there's another one, the one from the guys that did Bastion. I can't remember the name of the game. Do you remember?
There was Bastion.
Transistor.
And then there was Transistor. Yeah.
Yeah. So I played that for a while, and I was like, aesthetically, this is actually a really, great game. I just couldn't do it. Like, for some reason, Massive Chalice is the only one that really kind of kept me going. I feel like because the difference between Transistor, and maybe because I didn't give it enough time to grow on me, but like Massive Chalice had a little bit of an overarching, like, kind of risk, like, strategy style, like where I had to choose, am I going to sacrifice this part of this area over here, or do I go over here and do this? Like, there was like this kind of like world map that you're working with. And in Transistor, I felt like it was very much just story driven. Like, you're just cruising through these areas. But yeah, I definitely, I +1 on like Massive Chalice, like as in terms of like a must have. And what's funny, I think that it was, but I'm fairly certain it was the, like one of the biggest Kickstarter success stories when Kickstarter was first kind of taken off. Like, it sold over 1 million, which is like massive for a game at the time.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because like it's basically a game that came out of the success of the Double Fine Adventure Kickstarter. The game that went, I can't remember the name of the game they actually ended up making. Yeah, can't remember that at all right now. But the adventure game that Double Fine made, they basically went, okay, we made this and we released it. We should do another one of these, and they came out with Massive Chalice. And honestly, I think Massive Chalice is just a much better game.
It is a good game. Yeah.
Broken Age. Yeah, there it is. Thanks, Super Duper
Broken
Dog.
Age. That's right, Broken Age.
Yeah.
That was a point-and-click adventure game, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It was very old school Double Fine. Old school Tim Schafer, I should say.
Yes.
But Massive Chalice is just more fun, I think. I don't know. I haven't really played much Broken Age at this point, but it's like it's a game that I look at and I go, I don't have time for this. Whereas Massive Chalice, I'm like, I've got 10 minutes. I can do a little bit in Massive Chalice, and then I play for the next 4 hours, inevitably.
Yep.
So speaking of things that will inevitably be played, by which I mean, speaking of things that you're kind of afraid of, but you're kind of excited about, but you're kind of afraid of.
What? Wait, I need to look at the goddamn list. What is this?
So you saw the This Week at Bungie update a couple days ago, right?
Oh, I didn't see the update. I got the highlight, which was basically the title image.
Yeah.
The goddamn. Oh, man. The skin.
Yeah. So since the Taken King launched, people have been like, oh man, I want a Taken shader so bad.
So bad.
And so this is Destiny kind of putting their foot down and saying, no, you will play our fucking game.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is exactly it.
They brought out the big guns and they're like, oh, you haven't played Destiny in a little while, I see. Taken shader. And everyone's like, because that's the sound that you make.
We thought that would be the drop that you'd get, the shader that you'd get when you beat it on hard mode, and then we did, right? Didn't we? Guess we did.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
Yep.
And it was upset. We got the stupid ghost. Yay, a fucking ghost. Woo! Right? But that was it.
Yep.
Fuck. And yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. No one's playing arcade. What can we do?
Yeah.
Well, what do the people want? Let's give them that.
Yeah. So this update that they have here makes me scratch my head a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, they're talking about, okay, there's going to be this April update, which is going to launch on April 12th.
Okay, sorry, I'm gasping because I'm reading it now because I wasn't. This is something that came out while I was gone. I'm reading it right now and I'm like, oh, what?
So they're apparently adding new PvE challenges, and I think we talked about this a while ago. How they said new PvE challenges, but they didn't say new raid or content. They just said new things to do. So I'm not really expecting too much out of that. I'll be honest. They are adding a new and updated gear, easy like that. That's an easy way to take people that are already playing your game and get them to continue playing your game. Like, it's so funny, even in WoW, people say, hey, can you add on more Valor upgrades? You're like, really? That's all it takes? Like,
They want to do something with their shit, man.
Yeah. Which, by the way, there's currently no plan for new Valor updates. Just saying. Covering my ass a little bit on that one.
Heartbreaker.
Yeah. As soon as I said that, I was like, oh, God, now people are going to think I'm announcing something.
Yes.
But no. New quest featuring the Blighted Chalice Strike. So there's actually a new strike coming.
Speaking of Chalice, you totally missed a transition opportunity there.
I did. I hadn't actually read that bullet point until just now.
God.
Increased max light and rewards. I would hope so if there's new and updated gear. Otherwise, what the hell's the point of the new gear? Sandbox and Crucible updates and more. ... Picture of Taken shader. So yeah, like I said, this update makes me scratch my head a little bit. First, like obviously this is a tease. They're trying to build up hype, which is fine. Not how I would have done it, but okay, sure, whatever. Time to build up hype a little bit. And then they immediately go into, oh, by the way, check out our Twitch emotes.
Yes! What the fuck is this? What are they doing?
Like, I wasn't aware that Bungie had become a Twitch streamer.
Why? Yeah. What?
And, not to be that guy, but I looked at this and I immediately thought, oh, they've only got 20 emotes. They must not have many subs.
It just, I don't understand why they need subs for this when they probably could have just reached out to Twitch and just said, "Hey,
Yeah.
like, can our people or can our people see? I don't know, like, come up with something, some exchange." But like, seriously, why would anybody sub to the Bungie Twitch? I don't know, man.
Yeah, like it's entirely possible that they couldn't just. Well, I don't think they could get 20 emotes if they just reached out to Twitch. Just like Twitch tends to only give like a couple when they do that sort of thing.
Sure, but they also don't need to have every different color of Ingram on here either.
Yes. Who is ever going to use like legendary engram? You can use that one, or excuse me, no, exotic engram. You can use that one.
Right.
Green engram, I could see people using that one as like a haha, you only got a green sort of thing.
I don't even know what the box of raisins is. What is that?
I don't know.
It's like a spilt box of raisins.
That was from one of their holiday events, and I think there's people that just have a shit ton of them now.
And what is the fish?
I don't know.
Oh my God! See?
I don't know.
And then of course soon, or is that so on? It's soon, isn't it? It's soon.
I don't know if it's supposed to be soon or
Why?
so on.
And then the heart. What the fuck are they doing?
If it's soon, then hi, Blizzard Entertainment here. We already did that joke. Thanks. Yeah.
Why?
Why is there a big heart? What is? I don't understand this heart. This isn't even a Destiny themed heart. It's just a heart. There's no hearts in Destiny. Why is there a heart here? There's already a heart emote in Twitch, just by itself. What is this doing? This is like those streamers that when they get their emotes finally, the first thing they do is put the Kappa head in. Like, yes, congratulations. Now it's a Kappa head, but it's slightly different color or something because whatever. Anyway, so I just found that to be super weird. Apparently all the money, I should mention, the money that they receive goes to their Bungie Foundation, which is a charity that they do theoretically charitable stuff with. I just kind of thought it was weird to... Well, I don't know. And that's what the heart is. The heart is from the Bungie Foundation.
Oh,
as part of the logo.
There you go. Okay, well, we're dicks.
Yeah, a little bit.
I've
done zero.
A little bit, but still.
I always like, and this is nothing against Bungie at all, but every time I read a charity, before I say, oh yeah, it's a charity, so it's good that it's going to a charity. I always want to look into what the charity actually does with their money before I do anything else. You and I have had some experiences in the past, I know, of people doing weird, shady shit with charities.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's just kind of that. And again, nothing against Bungie at all in that one. That's just me not wanting to say, yay, a charity.
I just don't. I feel like there's other ways. I mean, unless they're just trying to explore every option, I feel there's other ways in order to, if they want to get the Bungie Foundation more attention, like there's just other ways they could do it. You know, there just is other ways they could do it.
Yeah, the Twitch emotes. It's going to be very interesting to see how the Twitch emotes actually works for them. I am slightly curious. Like, if it does work out well for them, that's one of those sort of interesting things that I look at and go, like maybe WoW should consider something like this. Mm-hmm. I don't see it going that way, but maybe. I don't know.
Yep.
I also just find it weird that they decided to put all that money towards a charity instead of being like, yep, this is another way for us to make money, but whatever. I guess it does feel a little bit nicer to say they're going to put it towards a charity. But anyway, Bungie April update.
We'll probably be playing some of it.
Doesn't sound exciting, but there's a Taken shader, so I have to.
Why, man? Shit. Yes, you're right. We have to. Damn it.
So yeah.
That's all we have today? I guess so, huh?
Have you played... This is not on the list, so I'm not giving it a transition.
Okay.
Have you played Clash Royale?
No, I saw you tweet about it. It looks like another Clash game, mobile game.
It is a mobile game. It is a
Tower
Clash
defense
game.
type game or something.
It's sort of tower defense.
Okay.
So I always looked at Clash of Clans and I was like, a lot of people play this game. Maybe it's pretty good. And I always looked at it and it was the whole like build a base, attack other people's bases, do that sort of thing. Like the sort of game that you wake up in the morning and someone's broken half your shit.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And those are the sorts of games that I tend to not be as excited about when I'm playing mobile stuff. So when they were like, oh, Clash Royale, and like, I don't know how it was on iOS, but on Google Play, like for a week and a half, there was this like pre-register now for Clash Royale sort of thing. And like, they've been really, really pushing the game. I was like, no, I don't want to play it. No, I'm not gonna. I've just been very much looking down my nose at this game. And now I've been spending all of my time looking down my nose at this game because that's where my phone is located. Yeah, so it's really good. It's actually really good. Like, it's this mix of sort of tower defense. You can build towers, but that's not really the point. You have towers that you're trying to defend with units. There's a little bit of like Hearthstone to it in that you get cards, but you also upgrade the cards, and you like the deck building isn't to nearly the extent that it is in Hearthstone. It's more like you have these 8 almost like abilities, and how do you want to use these 8 which 8 abilities would you like to use? Almost like Guild Wars to a degree. And it's real time, which I really like. And it is maximum 4 minutes per game. Maximum. Absolute longest that a game can possibly take is 4 minutes, at which point it will just call it a draw.
Wow.
Yeah. It's really, really fun. I accidentally created a clan. I was like... I was talking to Three Guns on Twitter about it, and I was like, hey... I had tweeted something about I was looking for a clan, and he was like, oh, we should make one. I've been playing it too. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I was like looking around in the interface, and I was like trying to come up with names for the clan or whatever. And I had typed in #DGYHU, and I was like, oh, I should search for this first. And I like tabbed over to their search thing, and I was like searching. I was like, oh yeah, there's nobody called DGYHU. And then I got a tweet from Three Guns, so I was like, oh, I should use the multitasking to tab over to, not tab, obviously, but like switch over to Twitter real quick and look at this. It was a tweet from Three Guns, so I wanted to make sure that he wasn't saying, I just made one or whatever.
Right, yeah.
And then I went back to the game, and for some reason, the bottom half of the screen, like where the keyboard would have showed up, was just blacked out. And I was like... oh, this isn't working. And I was able to page back and forth, and it would just keep the bottom of it blacked out. So I was like, something weird is going on here. And I thought to myself, I'll tap on the blacked out area and see if that fixes it. And like, as my finger is approaching the phone, like it's about an inch away from touching the phone still, the blacked out bit goes away, and the point that I was aiming at just happened to be where the create clan button was. So I just see it appear and I go, oh shit, and now I have a clan. So if you're playing Clash Royale... and
it's the DigiWho clan, all right.
Yeah. Look for a hashtag. You do need the hashtag for some reason. Their search is not very good. Hashtag DGYHU on Clash Royale. But yeah, it's actually really fun. I've been enjoying it a lot. The only thing that's kind of annoying about it is when you win, you get a chest. Like, it's a hooray, you won, you get a chest so that you open it up, and that has more abilities inside of it, and you can use those to either upgrade your existing abilities, or I'm not going to call them cards because they're nothing like cards, and I hate card-based games because there's so fucking many of them. Okay. Like, don't get me wrong, I like Hearthstone. I'm just sick to death of every fucking game trying to be Hearthstone since Hearthstone happened.
They just put cards in there everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's every mobile game right now is like you actually look.
Even PC game, but go on.
Yeah. Like you actually look through, and they'll have like the little screenshots or whatever that they always put the extra text over top of. It's like collect thousands of cards, and I'm like, fuck no, I don't want to play this game. So they call them cards in the game, but they don't act anything like cards. You don't have to read them more than just to understand what the thing is, and then you're not like playing it like a card in the game. You're actually like saying summon this guy, cast this fireball, whatever. Anyway, you get these chests that have those quote unquote cards in them, but you can only have 4 chests at a time, and to open the chests you have to wait. Like it's a really shitty like force people to either wait or spend money mechanic in that you will get a chest, you'll win, you'll get a chest. It will take 3 hours minimum to open that chest. So you tap on it, you click start, and you wait for ages. And you can only have up to 4 chests like in waiting at a time. So you get pretty quickly to a point where there's actually no reason for you to play today. They do have a little thing that like every 24 hours you can earn a chest by playing a few games. You earn crowns as part of actually playing basically every time you destroy a tower you get a crown, and then once you get to 10 crowns you get a chest. So there is a reason to actually play it, and there's also a ranking system which can upgrade the cards you can get, so that there's still kind of a reason to play outside of it, but it is still annoying to be sitting there looking at it. And it's inevitably going to work too. Like inevitably I'm going to look at this at one point and be like, all right, spend all my money, open all these chests, keep playing.
Can you do me a favor? Next time you fall in love with a mobile game, reach out to the publisher and see if they can give us money, because I want to play this game now, and there's probably people listening that wants to play this fucking game now, and we just gave them money for free.
Yeah, free advertising.
We could have made money off this.
All 10 of our listeners.
This could have been Digi-Who, brought to you by Clash, or I don't even know, whatever. Lose us money.
Yeah, game's fun though. Also, I've been related news. I've been playing Trials Frontier again.
Fuck you! God damn it! No, show's over. Fuck you.